We in here. We live. What's good, man? Free agency. The rumors are crazy. Like what I've been looking at, the news that's come across Bleacher Report, Twitter, everything has been crazy these last couple of hours. Like between the Damian Lillard stuff, that's all the talk was last week was the Damian Lillard stuff. And then now James Harden obviously opts in to the contract of Philly just to get traded. Kyrie, that whole thing is still going on. If you go down a list of some of the available guys, Fred VanVleet, Khris Middleton declined, so he's open and available. Bruce Brown, who I feel like is going to be back with Denver, because that was a whole thing, and I was like, yeah, Bruce Brown's going to be back with Denver next season. Yeah, no. My whole thing, I was waiting on you to say something about the Lakers, because my whole thing with them was there's no way y'all are getting anybody, because y'all want to bring D'Lo back, and then y'all are bringing Jared Vanderbilt back. The Lakers ain't getting nobody.
But we're not bringing Malik Beasley back. We declined his $12 million option.
Okay.
So most likely we're not bringing him back. So it does clear cap space.
It does.
They released Mo Bamba too today.
They did. I saw that. Mo Bamba's out.
Yeah.
But like at the end of the day, Kyle Kuzma is available. So the thing about Fred VanVleet, I think I said it earlier, thing about this particular offseason is, as far as the free agents go, there are a lot of really good like role players that can go to a team and help take them from just being a contender or just being a team that's trying to get over the hump to being an actual contender. We're talking Kyle Kuzma, we're talking VanVleet. Like there are a lot of guys out there on the market who can actually help a team go from just being, we can't get over the hump, to now actually being a team that can go and take it to another level.
Yeah. Yeah, and to be honest, it's still like, even though I know the Lakers put up an offer sheet for Austin Reeves and Rui Hachimura, but they're restricted. So if a team matches it, if another team matches it and they feel like they want to go to that team, they can. So hopefully they don't. No other team matches the offers for Austin. I like Austin Reeves' game now. He showed me a lot in the playoffs, so I definitely want to re-sign him. But it's a lot of good role player type of free agents out there for sure.
Somebody could show them some more millions and try and prime away from y'all, Carl.
Oh, they could easily do it, because somebody can offer, I don't know, this is a random number, like $25 million, and you can obviously take that over the $20 million or so that the Lakers might offer them. I would technically. I'm not even gonna be mad at them.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to play for that dumpster fire.
Well, way to go is this. Let's say somebody offers Austin Reeves something nice. The Lakers are going to match that shit and they're going to bring him back. I don't see a world where Austin Reeves leaves. You know what I mean? Like I really have seen it. I want to go back down and see how many restricted free agents actually like left and their team didn't match, because most of the time I'm seeing their teams actually match that contract and they end up staying.
Yeah, it was.
You know what I mean?
The only close one we all know is DeAndre Ayton, but then they ended up matching. I was just gonna say that.
Yeah, that close. Yeah.
And also, I think DeAndre, this is a long time ago, so bear with me. DeAndre Jordan, remember he was about to go to the Mavericks from the Clippers, and then Chris Paul was like, "What's up? Why are you leaving?" And then the Clippers matched the deal, and he got re-signed. And then Chris Paul got traded. Look, Chris Paul got traded too.
We were waiting on this. We were waiting to see DeAndre in that Dallas uni, and then like the Clippers just matched that shit so quickly. I mean, speaking of guys who we thought were available, the James Harden thing. He opted in here to Philly. I think I said it earlier. He opts in to Philly, but inevitably they're going to end up trading him. This is the thing right now with Philly and with James Harden. It kind of goes both ways. For James Harden, and then right now the Clippers are obviously a team that are looking to bring him in, and the Knicks, I saw that as well. I think the Knicks would be great. At this point in James Harden's career, I don't really know if a move to another team makes me look at that team that much more differently. I think this Sixers thing was kind of my last straw, where he goes here and I'm like, oh, this is going to finally take him over the top. And then we're repeatedly seeing these same things in the playoffs. Like that Game 7 meltdown is going to go down as one of the premier James Harden big game playoff meltdowns ever. So after seeing that, and after being like, this is going to be the year he finally gets it together in the playoffs, I don't know if I'm excited about a James Harden move anymore to another team.
I mean, he's had since he's left Houston, these last two stops have really been his chance to prove that he can win somewhere else without having to have that offense, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of focused around him how it was in Houston.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But, I mean, at this point now, how old is he? He what, 34?
I want to say
33, 34 if I just had to guess.
It already looked like he kind of slowing down a little bit. So I don't know how much more effective basketball he got left.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's accurate because we would always ask ourselves, especially over the last couple of seasons, especially since he, has left Houston under a certain what should I say? After gaining weight to look a certain way to get traded. I still that whole situation was funny to me. And then he lost weight. And then he lost weight super fast when he went to the Nets. I think Ty, you thought he was wearing a fat suit or something probably, but because he lost that fast. But anyway, that's not the point. I think we kind of like saw over the last couple of years. He's definitely doesn't have that quick step that he does anymore. That's why his 30-point games or even his 40-point games in the playoffs, they come like every 2 games and not every other game or not even every game. So I think that's why we saw him kind of have that inconsistent series against the Celtics. So it is what it is. But yeah, he's not the same player anymore.
Except for those 2 games where he just went off out of nowhere.
But that's my point. The old James Harden, even though it's tricky because the old James Harden does have meltdown moments. So it's just like even when he was better, he still had the meltdown moments. So I don't even, like Ty said, I don't even know if he can win at this point. It's just like I don't think nobody cares because it's just becomes a thing to like you're just team hopping. So if you go to another team and it don't go your way, you don't win again. Where you go to this is random the Denver Nuggets or something. I don't know.
What are we supposed to look at now to make us believe it? Like he had 2 game winners this series against the Celtics and still like wet the bed in that game 7. Like he had 2 game winners. So how many times are we going to see James Harden if we're going to see him play well? And we're going to be like, oh, this is the revival of James Harden. How many times are we going to see that? You feel me? So at this point, when he goes to another team like New York or the Clippers or whatever the case may be, how entertained are you by it? It's like the same thing here with this Kyrie stuff. Kyrie, the rumors about him going to join Phoenix, which I only see happening in a sign and trade scenario. Are we really that excited to see? Like it's come to a point where we've seen so many meltdowns. How excited are we now of when we see these big superstars come and pair along, or these big superstars move from team to team? It's tiring at this point.
That Kyrie report, that's gotta be fake. Because I don't know how in what world, if that were to happen, if they was to do some kind of sign and trade, I don't know how that would work.
DeAndre Ayton
you got 3 guards and then what? That's
DeAndre Ayton would have to go.
He's going. But if like from a starting lineup point, you got 3 guards. You finna play Booker or Brad Beal to 3 or something? Bro?
Yeah, and then it's the same thing. You're overloading on guard. Like you're giving up depth. You lose your versatility. Now you're gonna go trade a big guy to get Kyrie. Like how many? Like when I was little, this shit was cute. Like when Dwight Howard had went and joined the Lakers or whatever. Like that was the first when I really first started watching.
Like don't forget Steve Nash. Don't do that.
Steve Nash, like, or even LeBron going to join D Wade and Chris Bosh, like all of that was cool. But then now it's like, who really cares? Because we've seen it happen after Brooklyn. There's no superstar move that impresses me anymore at this point.
If you really think about it, all of these superstar moves and all these teams loading on overloading on talent, it has Kevin Durant, mixed in with it a lot. Maybe Kyrie too. They've been involved in some of that, especially Kevin Durant. I found that to be very funny, very humorous. That's weird, but I think the teams you mentioned back then, like 10 years ago, the Heat, you got the Lakers or whatever. It was kind of a super team or just a great team, depending on what you call it. But this is just like going too far. Like it's just like you want your whole starting 5 to be the top 15 players in the league. Like, God damn, that's too much.
And we're seeing it balance out. Like if you go look at the teams that are actually winning titles, Denver had to build their way up, and develop. We talked about this a million times. The Bucks had to build their way up out of, like even the Warriors, their whole dynasty. Yeah, they had Kevin Durant, but that's a team that still won 2 championships without him. And won 73 games without him. They had to build it up. Like LeBron James is always the exception when it comes to not really having a team that had to develop over X amount of time when it comes to winning titles. Like most of these teams that are winning aren't just these super teams that get put together. I feel like there are more super teams that got put together in NBA history that failed than actually worked. Only one I could say that really worked. We could say the Celtics, but I feel like we could have gotten more out of that Boston Celtics thing with Ray Allen and Paul Pierce and KG. Then you've got then you've got the Warriors, obviously. Like those are the 2 that I feel like actually really work. I don't look at the Heat as the Heat dynasty as a super team. I just think that you could maybe.
Yeah, I debate people on that because when that move actually happened, people might have thought it was a super team, but when you actually watch them play, let's be honest, they weren't that much better than everybody else. Like like the only teams they might have been that much better is maybe in the East, but when they matched up with the Spurs in the finals, like
that's true.
That was an evenly matched finals because D Wade wasn't the same D Wade we saw in 05 and 06, obviously. And Chris Bosh kind of took that backseat. So it was really all on Bron to kind of be the number one option. But if D Wade was like 05, 06, D Wade, oh hell yeah, but he wasn't. That's reality.
I don't know about that one, big dog.
I know Blake was gonna say something.
D Wade wasn't. He wasn't flash anymore. He was quick. He wasn't.
But he was still almost playing at an all-star level. But I get
he did.
They talk about like, oh, well, D Wade still wasn't this. Chris Bosh still wasn't this. These are two dudes that Chris Bosh was almost a 20-point point per game scorer. I don't know if he ever reached 20 points while LeBron was there.
He probably did.
I don't know if he ever did touch it before or while LeBron was there. But D Wade was still averaging 20. And then you like niggas be talking about D Wade wouldn't do it. That's frustrating to me, bro.
Can I build off of what Blake just said? We are not gonna get too deep into this because me and Carl got heated about it the other day. But why do so many LeBron GOAT conversations always end up with us throwing his teammates under the bus like that shit?
You're literally lowering what they've done.
Yeah,
it's like, dude.
It just ends up that way. Or D Wade wasn't doing this, or Chris Bosh. But I'm gonna go over something you said. Even when we talk about the Heat being one of those few super teams that actually won a title, what did we see? We saw them lose twice to teams that had to develop over time. The Mavericks, their roster was kind of constructed of different pieces, but they beat them. They were a better basketball team, or they got beat by the Spurs. Right? They could have got beaten by the Spurs twice. You know what I mean?
Well, I compare it to this. I compare it to Golden State. When KD went to Golden State, right? We saw Steph. He might not have had the same MVP season, but we all still knew Steph was Steph. Like, he didn't decline or anything. And then we saw after KD left, he was still putting up the numbers, even better numbers. When LeBron left Miami, clearly D Wade wasn't the same player, and he wasn't the same player when LeBron got there. That's what I kind of compare it to, because we know how D Wade played before LeBron got there. Like, he averaged 30 a game one season, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure he did. When LeBron got there, he had knee injuries, so he definitely wasn't as quick as he used to be on a regular basis. I think that's a fact. Like, you can just look that up. Yeah,
but I'll say that they were still quality players. They were.
No. I ain't gonna say that. Like Blake said, they still all stars. But let's be honest, it's the difference between all stars and all stars.
They were all stars.
Like all NBA. They were still all NBA players. I'm not saying that, but I don't think D Wade was a first all NBA type of player. He might have been third.
He was all NBA though.
He was all
NBA. I'm just saying not first team. He wasn't the first team anymore. Yeah. I'm splitting hairs. I'm being picky. I'm be honest, but
Carl, you don't be doing this, but it just bothers me when other people they choose to de-escalate some of the things that some of LeBron's. Not even just we talking about Miami, Cleveland too with Kyrie. We don't like the way people talk about it. It's like Kyrie's over there averaging 10 or 15 points a game.
It's the Kevin Love thing that bothers them.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. But yeah, like at the end of the day, what we're noticing, like I said, is this whole super team shit isn't impressive because those aren't the teams that are really winning right now.
At least not anymore.
Well, how many times have we actually seen it happen? Like the really maybe twice. And even Golden State showed they can win without Durant. But let's go look at some of the ones over NBA history. That Rockets team. Right, like when they had Charles, I know they were later in their primes, but on paper, still technically, a lot of star players on their roster. Like we've seen it happen so many times, and we've seen it fail. The Lakers, right, and when they lost in 2003, I don't
know why they got
3 or 4.
Yeah, 4, and they still got to the finals, but where you had Karl Malone and Gary Payton, I guess you can call it that, but it just didn't really work. And some of those guys you just put on the team and they didn't fit. We're seeing more times where these teams that take a minute to develop, or they're just not super stacked. We're not seeing these super stacked rosters actually do shit.
Yeah.
Point blank period.
Yeah, random point. Gary Payton the following year or the 2 years later went to Miami, and then he got a ring.
That is true.
Random, just the random fact. But,
that is true.
But yeah, the super team stuff is starting to kind of fade away in terms of success, because I feel like you've seen with Denver, like they built that. Took them like probably 7 to 8 years to kind of build that foundation with the franchise, and I feel like that's beginning to become more of a theme in terms of teams building and winning championships, rather than just, I want to go play with my best friend that averaged 30 points last year, because I think we go win. I think that's getting old and it's not working. I love to see it too, might I add.
To this James Harden thing, let's go back to this. I don't know what better situations there are for him as a player. I just don't know how many great players have we seen him get paired up with over the course of his career. I don't really know how many better situations he could have been in. I think Philly, there's no better situation than playing with Joel Embiid, who's a top 5 player. There's no better situation. So what point, right? What does James Harden do right now to put himself in a better position to win? There is no. I think this was his last window.
Honestly, to me, it feels like that he thinks he's done about all he can do in Philadelphia, because he's been there about what? Only like 2 years.
It's 2 years.
He haven't been there that long, but
from his perspective, I mean, like the only logical thing I can come up with is maybe he's thinking, okay, this is probably as far as we're gonna go.
Where the hell else is he gonna go?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's true, and I'll say he might be thinking that because Joel is a hurt man. He's becoming a hurt player. He is, Ty. He's becoming a hurt player.
But Harden but Harden gonna do it. Like he was going to, if he went to another team, it'd have been 2 years in and out. Like he's had so many opportunities. Yeah. I just, my thing with Harden is I just don't know. Because Embiid was hurt in that first round, but it wasn't that he was hurt. They just shit they pants in game 7.
That's it'd be different if James Harden had like a consistent series and then Joel Embiid didn't play really that well, which he kind of didn't. He was iffy, but then James Harden had 40-point games. He had game winners, but then he had moments like Ty, like you said, he shit on himself. It's kind of, he messed up a lot in that series too. Even though he did some good, he definitely did some bad. But I just want to point this out to you. James Harden has played with Chris Paul, Hall of Famer. Russell Westbrook twice. We all know he's a Hall of Famer. Kevin Durant, former MVP. Joel Embiid, former MVP. Am I missing anybody? It was
Kyrie Irving.
Kyrie Irving. Kevin Durant. Wait, hold on. He played with Kevin Durant twice. Aaron, wait, hold on, bro. That's crazy. But then he played with Kyrie. So
what now? So what now? What position what team do you go to?
You know what it is. It's only one Hall of Famer he ain't played with. No, I'm just playing.
Right, like what else? Oh, you trying to get him go over to LA? Hell no. Lord, no. But still, like, what do you do now if you're James Harden? I mean, they're and as far as some of the places, and then for Philly right now, what do you do? Now there are some places, there are some trades that make sense. I had a couple. If you're gonna do the Clippers thing, something's gonna be centered around either PG or Kawhi Leonard. Who I think the Clippers right now are open to moving one or two of those guys, right? Because I don't know where the Clippers are with these two guys right now, but I mean, if you're Philly, bring back Kawhi Leonard in a Harden trade and probably some other pieces. But then now if you're Philly, you're in a position where you're like, okay, one of our guys, the guy we just gave up was inconsistent as hell. The guy we're getting is consistent and is known as a great playoff player, but we don't even know if he's going to be on the court enough. So and the same goes if you go trading for Paul George. So there's the downside to that. Now let's say, you go move him over to New York, right? Do you want to bring in RJ Barrett and probably a couple of role players? Is that much better than bringing in James Harden?
The left-handed shooters, that's crazy. All them left-handed
RJ Barrett isn't even that guy. We learned that. You know what I mean? Julius Randle, do you throw him in?
No.
To bring him with Embiid?
They're not going to give up Jalen Brunson. New York doesn't really make sense to me.
I don't like if it was 5 years ago, it would make sense. Let's be honest, but it's not 5 years ago. Julius Randle, who I don't want to like bash him, but whoever would take him in a trade and give up like a decent amount of their core and maybe some draft picks is foolish to me because he's a good player, but that's all he is. And I'm being kind of generous when I say good because I think he's just okay. Well, he's above okay. I'm not gonna be like he's above average player. He's an all-star here or there, but you can't build your team around him. You can't build a franchise.
I don't think he can. I don't think he's a. Let me word this right.
He's not a franchise player.
He's not a piece for a win now team.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think he's a winning team player.
Like, if I'm Philly, the position I'm in right now is I need to win. I need to maximize this Joel Embiid window. That's it. So you had Harden. That didn't work. Harden's 20-10. Harden just had one of his most underrated seasons ever with Philly last season. So, you know what I mean? Exactly. So now that's what I'm saying. Like, okay, there's another spot like New York. There's nothing in New York that helps you stay in win now position. I don't care. There's the Clippers thing.
What about Miami?
Again, are they gonna know? Because they're not. Who are they gonna move from?
Yeah, they won't, bro. Miami. This is want to talk about this a little later. Miami.
Okay, so you give up here. Do you know there's going to be more included there if you go Hero and Harden?
Be more included, but I mean, just the main line of that package. I give.
Do you all really want James? No, for real. This is serious. Do you all really want the club going James Harden in Miami?
You want him in New York?
Do you really? I'd rather have him in New York. Do you really want him? He go come to them games a little off. I don't know if you want him to go to Miami. I'm just being honest.
Yeah.
Send that nigga to Utah.
Okay, here's an interesting one. Philadelphia. I mean, the Pelicans, New Orleans. You center something around either Brandon Ingram or CJ McCollum. Brandon Ingram in his first playoff appearance averaged almost 30.
CJ McCollum. You give up CJ McCollum. You give him CJ McCollum couple of picks because I know them niggas got picks. you give them CJ McCollum.
Oh yeah, they do.
Herb Jones.
They got some first. Nah, they finna re-sign Herb Jones.
Okay.
You think the Sixers go think that's enough though to take them where they want to be?
That's the issue is where do you go? I mean, I think the Pelicans have some bucket getters over there, that can help them at least stay stable. Then there's this whole weird Celtics shit where that's not going to happen because these are literally the two rivals in the East. So that's going to be a whole there's no way that happens.
For the Celtics to want that or even give in to that, they would have to offer Joel, and we know that's not going to happen.
Yeah, it's like
because it's like that's how much they hate each other, and I'm pretty sure the general managers and the owners don't mess with each other.
What if? Okay, so hypothetically saying if Kyrie doesn't re-sign in Dallas, do you think they could put together a good enough package for Harden?
Okay, so it'll have to be Kyrie re-signs, then they go sign and trade for sign and trade.
Pretty much, yeah. And that would put Kyrie in Philly with that media.
Again, but then here's the transition right now to Kyrie, Blake. Here's the transition. The market for Kyrie is fucking short. Nobody wants Kyrie right now. The only team really right, but it's a little worse for Kyrie because right now Kyrie goes into free agency. The only team really willing to give him a long-term deal is going to be Dallas. So if you're Philly, are you one of those teams willing to swing on Kyrie Irving?
That's a pretty big.
But here's the thing.
It sucks because he's such a good player. It's not because he's injured or he's still.
I feel like it's just that narrative. That narrative needs to stop, bro.
Yeah,
that's really.
Yeah.
He's still in his prime, bro. That's crazy.
Kyrie.
Yeah.
Cracks me up. But it's unfortunate for the Mavericks. I think we're forgetting, but we mentioned Kyrie. I don't want to drift too far away from the topic, but it's unfortunate that they traded all they did away just for somebody to get a sign and trade. Not even a whole year later, like a half a year later.
Mm-hmm.
That's insane for you to give up all that and then now the dude just walking away. Like even though it's a sign and trade.
Yeah, we talk about Phoenix, the way they roster is looking right now. Dallas. Dallas ain't too far behind them.
I'm just Luka. Yeah, Luka. I think if they see that Kyrie trade I was in between on it because I'm just like, yeah, but you do that, you kind of give it away your defensive players, and we saw they struggle with defense. They should have kind of just kept building and relied on that because they weren't even that bad, to be honest with you. They were still a good playoff team to me, and they probably would have made the playoffs, unfortunately. Which is the crazy thing. But I feel like if they would have waited and kind of build a couple more years with Luka, like around them, they could have been in the same situation that the Denver Nuggets were in just like last month. To me.
Here's my opinion. On the Mavericks thing. It's a little different. I don't think they're that bad off right now. I think they had a solid draft. I like that they picked up Derek Lively. He gives them a good interior guy. I think they bring back Kyrie, and there's still going to be some pretty solid pieces they can bring in the offseason on these smaller deals. Like Cam Reddish is looking right now. He's on
Cam. Man, people keep playing with Cam Reddish. I don't think don't get your hopes up about that.
What they really need right now is just somebody out there on the wing who can go. I think they can make it work. They just need somebody out there on the wing who can guard.
Now I don't know. We've heard trade rumors. We've heard trade rumors about a whole lot of players, even some all-stars. What about Karl-Anthony Towns
to Dallas?
Does that really? That's interesting because because we've seen that the project with the Timberwolves with Karl-Anthony Towns and especially with Rudy Gobert and Anthony Edwards isn't working out how you want to. They're going to have to make a decision between somebody. It might be Karl-Anthony Towns. Unfortunately,
that team sucks.
Yeah,
they don't suck. They should just be better than what they are.
Okay, Carl. So you're saying go sign and trade Kyrie and then go back Karl-Anthony Towns.
I'm cooking right now.
I like it from Minnesota. They don't really. I mean, you go with Anthony Edwards and Kyrie and then Mike Conley as your perimeter attack, which I think is really good. You have playmaking. You have guys who can stretch the floor. Karl-Anthony Towns to Dallas.
Yeah,
is interesting.
It's interesting if you can keep Naz Reid. I like that.
They're keeping him.
I don't know. You think they'll be able to keep? You think they'll be able to keep Rudy Gobert? So you have Rudy Gobert, you have Naz Reid, you have Kyrie, Mike Conley, Anthony Edwards. That's a pretty good starting five.
So you think they would keep Rudy Gobert over over Cat.
Would you go Kyrie, Rudy Gobert instead of Kyrie, Cat? I would.
First of all, I would not want I'm thinking about it from two different teams at the same time. If I'm the Mavericks, why the hell would I want? I'm not wanting Rudy Gobert. I've seen he's maxed out. He's maxed out for me. I don't want him.
Let me go back.
But it's especially because of his contract. If he was only making $20 million a year, I would say yeah. But he's making almost probably $40 million, right?
Yeah.
No, I'm not taking that contract for Kyrie. No.
What he does, that contract is awful. I don't care about the. Like I get he's probably the best rim protector in the game, but
probably not even.
I'm not paying. I ain't paying you $40 million just to sit.
That belongs to Joel Embiid now.
So let me break down the Rudy Gobert thing because I like it. I liked your deal with the Kyrie the Minnesota thing, but let me say this. So I bring back Rudy Gobert. I remove the stress that comes with Kyrie Irving. I love Kyrie Irving. I know he's my favorite player. I ride with Kyrie with everything, right? But if I'm Dallas, I remove the stress of Kyrie Irving. And I bring back a rim protector, probably the best in the game. And then, I don't know if there are more pieces that will be included in that deal. I don't know. I think it's safer to go with the Cat thing. It's something to examine. It's something to examine, but I think the Cat thing is pretty interesting.
In no way am I taking a big man like him that is really a traditional big man from like the 80s or 90s that doesn't do anything worth $40 million a year because that's how much he's going to make next year. I'm not doing that.
Yep.
He doesn't even average 20 points.
But let me ask you a question: wouldn't his game be best suited around Luka?
We saw over the last, but that's still not worth $41 million. No, he is Clint Capella with better defense. He is Clint Capella to me with better defense, and sometimes his defense has been iffy over the last year or so.
So let me ask you this. Let me say I'm gonna keep defending Rudy Gobert every chance I get. So let me ask you this. God. So who gave him that contract? It was Utah.
Yeah.
Utah gave him that contract because he literally was their defensive attack. Without him, that team's defense is horrible. So like I said, you pay for what you value. Draymond Green is making all of that money not because of what he does offensively, but because how good he is from an all-around standpoint. Like that's the perspective on the Rudy Gobert deal. I think what happened here is he gets traded over to Minnesota, looks bad because it's a weird fit and all of that. I still think Gobert is worth that money just for the defense he plays, to be honest with you. I do.
But the thing is, his defense is falling off a little bit. It's not even the same.
You would pay him 45 upwards of $40 million.
Because that's my point to you, Ty. His defense is not the same. We saw it this past year. It was not like terrible, but it wasn't worth $41 million.
I mean, but I could barely
tell his big ass is out on the court sometimes.
Well, because he was on a weird situation. Rudy Gobert is one of the dudes I want to anchor my defense straight up. I mean, I'm also justifying it for at that time. At that time, I can justify why Utah paid him that money. At that time.
Yeah, you need to be an owner then.
At that time, Utah. I think
I can get what you're saying at that time, even though I still disagree. I get what you're saying, but seeing how this past season went, he was not that defensive player.
True.
He was probably if you just looked at the game, he wasn't a top 5 defensive player. He probably was barely top 10 this year.
For sure. I mean, somebody's gonna come with some stats.
You saying to me a player that's barely top 10 just in defensive rating, just playing defense makes $41 million?
That's terrible, bro.
You make $41 million for playing defense, your ass better be 1 or 2.
That's true. Okay, that's true. Because I got you. But at that time, when he got that money, he probably was the best defensive player in basketball.
Yeah, you stupid. It's stupid. Yeah.
And now
his game makes me so mad.
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of different spots for Kyrie, but like I said, the joke on the Kyrie thing is that there aren't any teams who are going to straight up sign him not because of he's probably the only NBA player in history, or one of few, who's still in his prime. I mean, Kyrie Irving is the most skilled player in basketball.
He can still average 28 a game, but that's the thing. Either some controversial things going with him in the media, or he's hurt.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to be mad at a team or a franchise that doesn't want to sign him to a long-term deal, to be honest with you, because it's either some other things going to happen, and sometimes it's out of his control. I'm going to be honest. But then he is an injured player. He's not too far from his buddy KD. He does get hurt a lot.
Yeah. He ain't KD level, but I got you.
He's not, but he's Mr. My neck.
He can be at times. But like I said, that's the weird thing about him is that And that's the weird thing about Harden and Kyrie both right now is they're both guys who are going to put up amazing. Kyrie's better than James Harden, but these are both still very high quality players, and they're not. Their game isn't like declining at this rate to where you're super concerned, especially Kyrie still in his prime. I'd argue this is the best basketball he's playing. I think this is the most polished he's ever been, but teams are still kind of hesitant on him, or teams don't really know what they're going to get from him. Kyrie, just because of the availability, James Harden, because of, we know we're going to get this from you in the regular season, but in the playoffs, what the hell are we going to get? That type of stuff. So it'll.
Yeah, and he's even kind of becoming that, and we've never would have thought this. It's even becoming that with KD to some extent. Even when he's healthy, he doesn't look the same at times. Ever since Boston locked his ass up, to me, he hasn't looked the same. In spurts, he has been in the playoffs. He either gets hurt, or this KD leaves me when I'm watching him play. He just leaves me something else. I'm like, damn, I feel like I don't know if he the same. Like he's still putting up great numbers, but it's just I feel like it's something missing. I feel like his badge 2K reference. I feel like his badge isn't at the normal 98. I feel like it's at a 90. And that doesn't seem like that's a big drop off, but in 2K it is. Let's be honest. But yeah,
I can tell you ain't played in years.
I was like, what the?
I think the last 2K game I bought was 2K18. I'm be honest.
But those three guys do have a lot that they do leave a lot to be desired. Like I think that's the thing about all three of them. They're still very high quality players, especially Kyrie Irving, who I will argue right now is still playing the most polished on the court basketball of his career. This is a guy who's one of the most skilled hoopers of all time. I would argue second most skilled basketball player of all time. Harden still a guy who's going to get you 20 and 10. Kevin Durant still one of the best scorers ever. At this point, they leave so much to be desired. And it's just really, really weird, So we'll see what happens right now. Like I said, the question with Harden is where does he go to where we actually believe he's going to make a difference for this team when it matters?
I don't like you all said. I agree. I don't know if he can go anywhere that'll change the narrative around him. He'll just be better off staying and fight through it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying.
It seems like the whole trio of Kevin Durant, Kyrie, and James Harden, they don't want to fight through it. That's the problem.
Yeah. Like I what star, like how many stars do you have to go around for you to be like, like how many star players do you need to be around? Like for Kyrie, if he really does want to leave Dallas, because he's saying none of these rumors are true, but if he really does, like what other star players can you be around that are better than the guys you've already had? Same with James Harden. Like what other star player do you go, like New York? You want to go play with Jalen Brunson and them? It's cool. But they're going to give up one of their core, and that, is that better than the situation you had in Philly? Like, what's the situation you have right now that's better than what you have in Philly? You feel like, what I'm saying? And like I said, I feel really bad for the Sixers, especially. I feel bad for the Sixers, especially because, again, I think they've seen their peak right now. I don't know. I mean, maybe if you bring back an Ingram or a CJ McCollum, if there's a Pelicans thing that happens, which I think is underrated.
And that's the thing. Tobias Harris has been in some trade rumors too.
Yeah.
So it's just like him. You can move a player like him. He's not a bad player or anything, but I feel like sometimes, and it can be a fit thing. I feel like sometimes he's just standing there. Sometimes he just doesn't. I don't know if he really fits with the team, but sometimes he does kind of. I'm not going to say choke, but it's times he could play better too. So it's like a 50-50 thing. You
wonder what type of player he is. And I think you can still get some value for him. He's an efficient scorer at his best. I don't think he's a number 1 or 2 option on a championship contending team. We saw that the last couple of years.
He barely a 3. He might be a 4.
Yeah, like he's a seasonal, like go-to scorer. You know what I mean?
He actually got mad.
He's just a real in-between guy.
He's like an Andrew Wiggins. So like Andrew Wiggins in Golden State,
just a better shooter,
better shooter. Andrew Wiggins in Golden State is a guy who, if Curry's clamped up on the offensive end, you can give it to him late in the shot clock and expect him to get you a bucket. I think that's what Tobias Harris should be, and there's a lot of value there for that type of player. So look, Philly, basically you have 2 big contracts to move. You can get a lot, but whatever you get back, is it going to be that much better than what you had with this season? I think this was the best Sixers team of the entire Joel Embiid era. I don't think you're getting a better roster than this. I just don't.
I don't know if it's better than that one with Jimmy, where Jimmy was there.
That's another one.
That was probably the best one they had.
I'd say no to that one. I say no to that one just because of spacing. I say no. That team was good, but for a couple reasons. One, they didn't have the chemistry. Jimmy started realizing he didn't want to be there.
You telling me? You telling me they pick? I ain't mean to cut you off, but you telling me they picked Tobias Harris over Jimmy Butler? Dang.
Yeah, I mean, but like I said, they went with spacing. You know what I'm saying?
I know.
But either way, I don't think there's a better situation in Philly than or for Philly. There's not
It's
any.
not.
We'll see because it's still two
It's
big
not.
contracts. But
Yeah.
I
I do. Yeah. I do, and this can't connect to the Damian Lillard thing because I've seen some rumors about what if Damian Lillard gets to be paired up with Joel Embiid. Like they would have to trade James Harden and probably some picks to especially when James Harden signs that contract to do a sign and trade. So what do you all think about Damian Lillard with Joel?
it depends on the draft capital that Philly has. That's all it's gonna come down to. Right now, if you're Portland, you want to rebuild. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I have a number 3 overall pick. I have Anthony Simons, still has a whole bunch of upside. They're still shading sharp there. It depends on where the draft capital is. And that's where Portland's really going to look, is wherever the draft capital is. At the end of the day, that's just really, really what it's going to come down to. Here's the two spots right now. I think the hottest spots right now for Dame is going to be Miami, who's not looking to and I don't even think Portland's that high on Tyler Hero, but there's some other younger guys they can throw in there. There's, the guy they just drafted in hockey from UCLA. There's Nikola Jovic, who has a ton of upside. I think should be in a rebuilding situation. Or there's the Nets, where there's Cam Thomas. You can offshore Ben Simmons, a big contract and that type of stuff.
Oh, no.
You can offshore it. I mean, he's got what, 2 years left on his deal. It's like you're Portland. You just use it to bring them in, see if it's a better situation. At the end of the day, you can get draft capital because Brooklyn can couple picks with that.
He ain't gonna never play. He ain't gonna never play again. And if he does, it's gonna be in spurts.
Yeah.
But I get what you're saying. No, those are Miles, McKay. Yeah, no, he's never. I don't want to bash him anything because people have already done enough of that. But I'm just gonna I'm gonna move on. But Mikal Bridges and Dame, that's a decent pairing. But I don't feel like that's gonna be too different. That's gonna be too different from his situation in Portland. Like I don't see him getting that.
I think similar to a situation in Portland. To be honest with you,
you said it's similar.
I think so. If not, I wouldn't say worse, but I think it would be. I don't know if it would be an upgrade because it's kind of
it's a small upgrade, but I don't know if it's the upgrade that Dame needs. Like you go from Portland to the Nets just for that. I don't know.
Here's why it makes sense for Portland because of the draft capital. I see what you're saying for Dame, who really has say, but he ain't got that. They can send him wherever the hell they want to send him. But
I don't think they would do that to. Well, you never know.
I think he doesn't have a no trade clause.
No, he doesn't. Not like
who figured they would do that?
Who signed that contract? No,
but it's like if I'm Dame. So the thing with Dame right now is where do you go? They can put you in a position where you're going to be contender ASAP. If you go to Brooklyn, it gives you a couple years. I think they'll be really good year one. Mikal Bridges, Spencer Dinwiddie, and the guys they've got there. Cam Johnson, if they're able to bring him back. Nick Claxton, who I think is going to be a defensive player of the year one day. That's a good team, and that's Dame around spacing. That's Dame around Mikal Bridges, who can average 20 and play defense. He's never really had a guy outside of Jeremy Grant who can average 20 and play defense, and also another really good rim protecting big in Claxton. I like it. I like it.
If I was Portland, I'd want Claxton in that deal.
That's another tough thing. That's where the negotiation would come in. Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah. That would be if Portland was able to pull that off and get Claxton back. That would be nice. They would have a nice season.
Day'Ron Sharp. I mean, you may be able to say no. I'm not going to give you Claxton, but I'll give you a bunch of picks. I'll probably give you Cam Thomas, who I think needs to be in a rebuilding situation too. There's Derek Whitehead, who you could throw in there too. I mean, like right now, Portland's just trying to stockpile on young guys. I think you say, hey, we're not going to give you Claxton, but I'll give you this. And there's Day'Ron Sharp, who still has a ton of upside. He had a lot of good moments as a net this season. So I think you can move. You can say, I'm not touching Claxton, so we can keep a Dinwiddie, Damian Lillard, Mikal Bridges, and Cam Johnson and Claxton core. But I'll give you these picks and these other guys.
I would say, and much as it's paying me to say, I was thinking of a certain LA team, but not the Lakers. I was thinking of the Clippers. They have a lot of picks. They have Paul George, because most likely I would probably like the pairing of Kawhi with Damian Lillard instead of Paul George with Damian Lillard. I think probably. So Paul George, and they have a lot of picks to give, and they have assets on that team. What do you all think about the Clippers getting Damian Lillard?
Why move Paul George to the Blazers wanted? Like, here's the issue with Paul George. I don't know how healthy he's going to be. He's another guy who's so good.
Oh, well, we know he's not going to be that healthy.
Yeah, so like if I'm Portland, what do I get out of? I don't think there's a lot of better situations than what you're going to get in Brooklyn. To be honest,
I'll stand on Miami being probably his best situation.
Me too. I just want to see him. Now it is interesting in Brooklyn, like that would be a beautiful thing to see him play in that arena. But it just Miami. I like Miami better because if he goes to Brooklyn, it's a better situation, but not by much for Dame. So I'm just like, you left Portland, the Portland Trailblazers, just for that. Like Mikal Bridges is a good upcoming young player. Obviously, we all know he's cold, but it's just like that's not the team you probably need to go to if you want to win a championship in the next.
It ain't what Miami has. And what Miami has there, they already have a proven set of guys that know they can get to the finals.
They have a potentially, when he's on, a top 10, top 5 player sometimes in the playoffs. And Jimmy Butler, as much as I don't want to say it. The Todd thinks I don't like Jimmy Butler, but they have a potential top 10, top 5 player in the playoffs that didn't play that good in these finals. But they have a I'm just playing. But they Jimmy Butler is Jimmy Buckets for a reason. So I feel like that pairing is better for.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And then to think about it, I just think the Miami Brooklyn thing is where it has to be like dwindled down to, because both teams can balance it out. Miami does have the capital, and they do have good young talent that they're not going to use to go ahead and give to Portland. And, Dame goes to a situation where he can still win now. Miami's a great position for him to win now. Or, like I said, the next thing, Brooklyn's got the best shot at giving them a bunch of young talent. At the exact same time, Dame can get into a situation where he's on a contender at some point. I really think if you put Dame in Brooklyn, I think that addition alone, if you get a good version of Dinwiddie, if you get Mikal Bridges, who's to follow up like he did, up. You have Claxton, who I think is a defensive player of the year, who's only going to continue to get better. I think year one, that team could be like a top 5, top 3 seed in the East.
You need to let go of Dinwiddie. I think he is what he is.
Yeah, but even if you get Dinwiddie averaging like 17, 16 a game efficiently, that's it.
But Dame doesn't want to go to Boston. Boston has some great assets too, but Dame made it clear he does not want to go there. So
where did Boston come from?
Boston. Jason Tatum wants him to come to Boston. So people started like naming down Jaylen Brown. They will offer Jaylen Brown and some of the picks they have to get Damian Lillard. And they definitely probably have the things for it, but Damian Lillard doesn't want to go there. And most likely, the Blazers are going to do right by Dame and kind of like let him go wherever he wants when he gets traded, because they just love him. They still love him that much if it gets to that point.
I think you stick between Brooklyn and Miami. I think those two teams have a lot to give up. I mean, if you're in Brooklyn, you're probably going to give up some depth to get them, but still, it's a good if the guys fall in line like they need to, if Mikal Bridges can follow up on last season like he should, and if Cam Johnson can do the same, if Claxton can do the same, if you can get a good version of Spencer Dinwiddie, that is one of the most well-balanced rosters in the league. Yeah, they're young, but are they really? Because Mikal Bridges has finals experience. Cam Johnson has finals experience. Nick Claxton is always going to go guard, one of the best players on the court. He's got playoff experience. So
Jimmy Butler.
What'd you say, Blake?
I said, but so do Bam to Tyler Hero and Jimmy Butler.
Oh, I'm pro both of them trades. I just may be more pro Brooklyn just because I think Portland can get more out of it, just because of the young talent.
Yeah. I know, I get what you're saying from that, but I'm looking at it from Dame's standpoint, like what's the best for him, not necessarily the team, because I don't care about
we don't care about Portland. We
care about them for. We care about the player. We're talking about Dame, and he's the subject. Really, but I hear what you're saying. It's definitely I'm just trying to think, why isn't there a lot of teams? I guess because some teams are full, and we know Dame will want to play in a bigger market and everything like that. So it's not a whole lot of options for a player of his stature. That you would think it'd be more, but a lot of teams already have their players set in stone too, and we know they're not going to trade some of their franchise cornerstone players either. So it's a tough situation.
Bring them to Atlanta.
Oh yeah. Well, let's talk about another one of Blake's teams though. That I didn't want to get him any credit, but the Rockets, the offseason they're having has been one of the best so far. So let's start from a coaching standpoint. They get rid of Silas, who I think is a good coach, but just was in a situation where I don't think he came there.
He got dealt a bad hand.
Yeah, like Silas comes in, expects to be on a contender. That doesn't happen. Now he's got to deal with a bunch of young guys that don't really want to play with him. But so you go from there and you bring in Ime Udoka, who's known as a great, young player, coach. He's known as that. That's why Boston went and got him. You bring him in. Then in the draft, you make out with Thompson, who's a top 5 prospect, but you also get Cam Whitmore. Technically,
a top 5 prospect.
Blake, technically, y'all walked out with 2 top 10 picks.
Yes. Yes.
Coulda, shoulda, woulda.
I mean, it's the truth. You literally got two, bro. You got a top 5. If you get a top 5 talent at 20 in the draft, that's a win. Especially with what you already got there.
And still space to sign another guy. Like there's Kuzma out there. We've heard a lot of stuff. There's the weird VanVleet thing, which I don't really know. Like that was always a weird one to me because I'm like, I mean, what does that put? Like, I just think from a rebuilding standpoint, Houston is in a
plan on taking a leap, I guess, but that's
I'm gonna ask you all this question, and they do have Ime Udoka, so that's why it makes a difference. Didn't you all say you all saw them getting better last year? Like, did you all say that?
Yeah, but they took a leap though.
They took. I'm just saying that, and why you can give me is they have Ime Udoka, who's a proven great coach. Like he's proven, so that's why I can be different. But I just want you all to be careful when you say it because last year they looked like they could have been something, and they were terrible.
I don't know
because to me they need to add a veteran player. It's too many young players on that team. First of all, you need if you want the I would say the situations franchises need to start to follow is kind of like how Golden State did it. Like they're like their blueprint. You build through the draft, but you also need to add some veterans on that team. Like the Grizzlies kind of started out doing that, and then now you kind of see they don't have that many veterans anymore, like they did probably at one point. But
now they got more.
But look what they did. They did that on purpose because that's what they need on the team. All them young dudes on one team is just a disaster. Unfortunately, Denver did it.
Denver did.
All them young dudes on one team, even though they might have all the talent in the world, they can probably be immature. Like that's a lot of probably immaturity. You need them veterans on the team. They don't really have any veterans. The veteran they have is the coach. That's the only veteran. I just want you all to be careful.
DJ Augustine.
Damn, he's been in the league for a while.
Yeah.
But I just want you all to be careful because they can still end up 13th in the West or 14th in the West.
Well, I don't think my excitement for them is about them winning. I don't think they're going to be a winning team. They may be.
I want to make a play in. I think that's what their ceiling should be.
Yeah, I said that last year, and they ended right back up with.
But that's what I'm saying. It's like a 50-50 thing. I was saying be careful with that, but also they didn't have Ime Udoka last year, so I can kind of see why you think that too.
With these young teams, I'm not worried about them winning. I'm just worried about them getting on the right path from a developmental standpoint. Last season, I was pretty high on them, but now there was a point last season where I was worried because I'm like, man, these guys are kind of off. KPJ, he's not really a point guard, so Jalen Green got better, but now I just think what they have is a situation that's better for all their young guys and help them develop. That's what it's all about. I'm not really worried about them winning. It's about are your young guys in the best position to develop, and are you in the best position? Do you have a base to build off of? Remember, that was kind of our thing with a couple of teams. We were kind of like, where are they building from? Right now, we know like who was the team that the Spurs. They were just in a situation where we were like, where are they building from? Now you got Wemby, and they know what they're building from. Now, I think Houston's in a position where they have a really solid base to keep building off of. You know what I mean?
But does Houston? This is a general question. Do you feel like Houston has a lot of projects on their team?
No. Okay, so name the projects in Houston. I don't think Jalen Green's a project.
No, I'm genuinely asking.
The only guy I could think of. I can't even think of out of their main draft picks would probably be Thompson. That'd be it. Because, you're still waiting to see what kind of player he is because he's a rookie. And I think even though he's a lottery pick, he's still kind of risky. But no, I think Jabari Smith, I think you know what type of player you want Jabari Smith to become. I think you know what type of player you want. I mean, KPJ was a project at point guard. So,
yeah. We'll see. We know who a player like really is. If they're really good, we can see who they are in their first year. But we'll know who a player really is by our third or fourth year. That's normally when their full talent comes around, and we can kind of define who they really are as a player. But yeah, I think they'll be better than they were last year because weren't they on like a 10-game winning streak at one point or 15-game winning? Like it was something horrendous.
Yeah.
So they're not going to be that bad, but I just want you all to keep in mind they're still a young team with no veterans.
Oh yeah, I don't think they're going to win anything. I like I said, it's about development for them at this point.
Yeah, it might be so bad they might convert.
Give him a year or two with Ime. He may shock you.
Yeah, because he's known for being good at managing the younger guys. So
But back to the James Harden thing, we did hear some rumors. Remember during the middle of the season, like he would be interested in going back there. Remember that? That was stupid, wasn't it?
I pray that.
I really hope. I'm like, dude, what would be the point?
I didn't. Probably because they could pay him the most. But that was the dumbest thing in the world to me when they were like, "Oh, let's go bring Harden back to Houston." Like, that was the stupidest thing in the world.
Yeah, he would welcome it, but
yeah, some of those rumors.
Yeah.
some of them didn't make sense to me. Like that, I was like, why bring him over there? But like now they can't. But no, I think. Let me ask y'all this: out of these three young teams, Orlando, Detroit, who will hopefully is going to be healthy next year, Indiana, and Houston, which of these teams is going to make that leap quicker to actually being a good team?
I'll give you two, Orlando and Orlando. Well,
gotta pick one.
No
two. Clock ticking.
Yeah, I think I'll take Indiana.
Oh, I was gonna pick Indiana too.
Yeah. And they've got the cap space to sign somebody who can actually help them be good. You know what I mean? I mean, Kuz is out there. I saw something. I saw it. Draymond Green. I just saw it. I read it. But Draymond Green, like, there's a lot of possibilities for Indiana to actually make a leap. Out of those four, though, Carl, who do you think is actually going to be that team that's going to actually be good? You know what I mean?
I think Indiana, because they literally almost made the play-in. Like, literally. Yeah. They were not that close from making the playoffs just in general, just a few games back. So I think Indiana's going to be the best team out of all of them. Because Therese Halliburton, he made the All-Star game, everything like that, double-digit assists. We already know he's legit. So he's going to be the building block for that team. And he basically showed that they can trust him to be built around and get them to the playoffs at least. Yeah. Because they were literally like this close, not that far from making it.
Were they like a top 5 at some point in the East last year?
They were the top 5, and then they kind of fell off towards the end, which I guess I could have predicted, but they still had a great season because let's be honest, we didn't expect them to be as decent as they were probably.
Mm. And their last 2 draft picks are amazing. You go get Benedict Mathurin, who was awesome in year 1, and then they got Walker. They got Walker in the draft too, didn't they, Blake?
Yep.
They had a hell of a draft, so now you have a lot of cap space. You can go sign a good guy. You know what I mean? Not somebody, not like a superstar, but somebody who can help, put you a little bit over the top. You know what I mean? Yeah. Ensure that you're a good team for their entire season.
Yeah. And one thing I've been critical of Rick Carlisle, but one thing about him, he does know how to coach a young team at certain times. He's good at that. He might not be. His coaching style might wear and tear on you a few years later, but I think he's good at coaching young players at least.
I'd never forgive him for how he did Dennis Smith Jr.
He was going to end up how
he did him dirty. He did him
Dennis Smith Jr.
Hey, did he mess up his jump shot? Make his jump shot weak?
No, I think he took his confidence because he turned DSJ. DSJ was going to be their franchise backcourt. I don't know. We could have at least seen how far the Luka and DSJ thing could have went. He just said, "I ain't playing this."
I got you, but his jumper was never there. He was just an athletic guard in my eyes.
Shoot, he's a quality player right now. When he get some of these guys when they get the opportunity to hoop.
What's his career high? Because I don't know it. I'm just playing because nobody know. Nobody. I was just being ignorant because nobody be knowing that about.
They gave on that man after year 2, bro.
But I'm just saying, he probably don't like nobody. I don't know. He a good player, but nobody going out about his jersey or nothing. I'm just saying.
Shoot, if they'd have let him, if they would have let him develop, they didn't let him. They didn't let him develop. I think some of that too. Also, I think he should have went to a different college, but that's a whole different thing. He would have went to NC State anyway, but that's a whole different thing. Because he didn't get tournament, did he?
Nah, he did.
Yeah, he should have went to a different college. But anyway, it'll be interesting to see how things move out for these teams in the offseason. But I really think we had to give Houston their flowers for what they did. They had an amazing offseason as far as their development goes. I think between Orlando and Detroit, we're always wondering which one of those young teams is going to take the biggest leap in their development process. I think they did the best. They've done the best. Like Blake said, 2 top 10, top 5 prospects in one class.
Yeah. You talked about Blake. Yeah, you talked about one of Blake's teams. He has 2 teams. Let's talk about your team.
Every team is your team, Carl.
What? I'm a temporary Lakers fan too. Till something happens, if anything ever happens. But Leah, let's talk about your Washington Wizards, who might be moving to Virginia soon. What do you feel about their off-season moves they made so far?
Like I said, I feel like you could have. I'm not afraid to rebuild. Like a lot of people are like, "Oh, you guys are going to lose now." Like I don't care. Like we're going to rebuild. Like
for the past 5 years.
But you don't. I say this: you don't care because your team has probably. your team has had good teams like playoff teams, but you never probably really like you all never won a championship. I mean, you won one in like the 70s when you was a Washington Bullets, but you never won a championship. So you don't like the feeling of winning the championship, being a fan of that team, and then rebuilding is. No, I'm just saying that's a different feeling.
It's all about the feeling of winning the championship.
Yeah, like if you're a Lakers fan, it's different. You don't want to rebuild because you want to win now. That's why they don't do it. So I don't care. I just think we could have. I'm gonna start with the draft. So I'm gonna start Bradley Beal and Kristaps Porzingis. If we're gonna go move them too, we could have gotten a lot more out of those 2 contracts for one. So that's just one thing. Yeah. The draft. I'm not mad at them picking him. I actually am excited for his development. I think he is a very athletic player. He's got a lot of potential, good defensive player. But argue to me why go with him over Jarris Walker. I think Jarris Walker was the ideal pick. He's further along in his development. He actually has good polished offensive game. He's probably not as good of a defender, but he's a slightly worse defender. He's still an elite defender as far as draft prospects go. He's uber athletic. He can pass. He's more versatile. Why not go with the more developed player? So I think we could have got better from a young player's perspective out of this year. I ain't scared to go into rebuild.
Yeah, we could be wrong about picking certain players in the draft because we've seen it. Sometimes it could be all about fit. We might think this player is going to be better. We might think he's going to be developed more. Yeah. That's what makes it hard to pick out talent. This player might be better than the other player in college, but he goes to a different team than the other player that got drafted 4 versus 5, and the player that got drafted at 5 might be better. We've seen that happen a lot.
My issue with the Wizards too is we always talk about this thing with the draft where we're like fit versus best talent available. We talked about that last episode, right? And my issue is if you're a team like the Wizards, you're not worried about that. So like you go with the most talented player available because now you really need a base to build off of. Orlando should be worried about fit. Detroit should be worried about fit. Not the Wizards. They need something to start off. So why not go with the most talented player available? And they went with the guy who's good, but he's a project. And it could turn out ugly because we've drafted projects before. Denny Avdia, who's a good role player, but is he? Did that turn out?
Your last couple of drafts
horrible. Y'all drafted Rui.
Rui's an exception.
Between Denny Avdia, Corey Kispert, Johnny Davis.
Corey Kispert was terrible.
No, Johnny Davis was terrible. That year one was bad.
I barely remember that name. I'll be honest. But yeah.
He's a good player, but that was a bad year one for him. But yeah, our last couple of drafts, and the last couple of years, it was because of weird positioning, right? But this year it wasn't. We'll see how he turns out because I like his game, and I think he's got a lot of potential. But I think we could have picked a guy who was a little bit more further along in this development process, in my opinion. So I give this offseason like a C. People are going to rate it higher because, like, oh, the Wizards are rebuilding now. Yeah, if we're going to rebuild, like, if we're going to start off from 2 max contracts and 2 guys who are over 20 points a game and Beal and Kristaps Porzingis, you should be able to get more to start your rebuild process than what we have.
Yeah. I don't know. I think you all might be solid. We have to see. You got Jordan Poole, who I'm really not that high on. Never been that high on, especially since college. But he unfollowed Draymond Green after he got traded, which is hilarious.
I did,
but I would have unfollowed him while I was on the team.
Ain't nothing good happening in Washington.
I would have snuck his ass too.
I'll tell you, he putting up 25 plus this season.
Yeah, but
40 shots with 40 shots.
We'll see what type of player he is. The only good thing that happened. The thing I want to see the most is Bilal come in and be good from year one. And actually, not even just, he's a good project, like show that he can actually, because how many of these guys have shown flashes and never turned out? Frank Ntilikina. Frank Ntilikina.
That was disgusting.
The dude from the Knicks, his last name is Knox.
Kevin Knox. And I don't even think he showed flashes at all.
No, like he was never that great to me in Kentucky. I was like confused.
Y'all remember Alonzo Trier?
Alonzo Trier. Now, I feel like the league gave up on Alonzo Trier.
Yeah.
How many times?
His rookie year, he averaged like what, 13, 14, 15?
How many times y'all gonna say they gave up on him? They just didn't want enough.
Nah,
I'm just playing. They definitely do give up on some players, and I can think of one. Todd, that's your favorite. Oh, I forgot his name. He played in Michigan. Trey Burke, that's your dude.
They gave up on Trey. Trey's a bucket anywhere he goes.
Yeah.
Last time people were going after him. Yeah.
Where's he now? I don't even know.
He's probably overseas somewhere.
Hey,
but it's a lot of guys
get money.
Yeah, it's a lot of guys. Right, it's a lot of guys who can step on the court right now and go get you like 13 off the bench. You know what I mean? It's a lot of guys like that. So anyway, bad offseason. So Blake. So all right, let's end this off like this. Everybody rate their teams offseason. Let's start with Blake. Who is your team that we're gonna go with here?
Atlanta, don't do that,
bro. You can't switch.
I'm a Hawks fan. I'll do both.
Name a starting five, right? No, I'm just playing. Go ahead.
It may change after
John Collins is gone.
Thank God. Good Lord. Okay, well, I think based off of just that John Collins deal, you get off of that big oversized contract. Just starting off, I give him a B-.
Yeah.
Because that was, even though you barely got a bag of chips back for it, at least you get to move off that contract.
And they're a sneaky team in this with all these free agents out here. They're a sneaky team who can make a move.
Yeah. Trae Young staying though. I remember those trade rumors came.
They can sign somebody now though, which is pretty good. So I mean, what about you, Carl? The Lakers haven't really done anything. I don't think they're going to do anything monumental.
They got if you count the draft as off season, they got Jalen Shafino, which I've seen a couple of his games at Indiana, but I'm really not that familiar with it. I know he plays guard, right? He's a guard.
Point guard.
He's a strong. Yeah. He's a strong guard. I know that for sure, and he can make some tough passes and some tough buckets and everything, especially at the rim. But I'll just kind of wait to see, because when it's different when the Lakers pick somebody in the first round, the second round, because a lot of times they don't even give them like chances. Like their team most of the time already has a couple stars on, and you kind of see some of their draft picks get kind of pushed to the side. But fortunately, he is a first round draft pick. They haven't had one of those in a while. So I hope that he turns out, but I don't really know what's his role going to be on the team. I just have to wait and see. But I'll probably grade us, because we haven't really done anything besides that, to be honest with you. I'll probably grade a C+.
I think you rate the Lakers based off of a couple years down the road. I think they are slowly, and it's kind of what the Warriors are doing, prepping for the post-LeBron AD era. And I think if you're going to start with Austin Reeves and Jalen Hood-Schifino, that's a pretty solid start. That's what I feel like.
They're also learning from their mistakes of just going out and getting free agents, because I don't think they're going to do anything. I don't think they're going to get Kyrie. I don't think they're going to get Damian Lillard, any of those crazy free agents like that. I think they're going to actually start noticing that building is the right way to go.
Absolutely. I'm giving us a C-. I think I think it's a weak attempt at trying to start a rebuild off. I'm gonna lose those two contracts. If I'm gonna get rid of Bradley Beal and Kristaps Porzingis and have the 8th pick, right? That's what we had. I'm getting more out of it from a rebuild standpoint.
You only giving the C- when you had one of the greatest point guards on your team of all time in a week, and you let him go and you let him walk. No, I'm just playing. I knew Chris Paul wasn't gonna last that long on there. I knew he was.
We knew that. He was like,
literally everybody in the chat, as soon as he got traded, there saying, "Oh, he not staying."
They flipped him. Oh, that does it, man, for this pod. Don't forget, y'all, sub to the channel. Help get us to 5K is the big goal. From a sub standpoint, we'll see y'all next time.
Yeah.